For this example, we've been asked to calculate the range, interquartile range, and standard deviation for the following set of data. Now, let's work out the range first of all. And you should recall that the range is the highest value minus the lowest value. Looking at our data, the highest value is 18 and the lowest value is 9. So the range is 18 minus 9, which is equal to 9. So range is 9. The next thing we've been asked to work out is the interquartile range, and we'll write that as IQR. Now you should recall that the interquartile range is the upper quartile minus the lower quartile. So we need to work out these two quartiles. Before we can work these out, we are required to put our data in numerical order. So we start off with the smallest value and write them out up to the highest value. So the smallest value is 9. The next smallest one is 10. Then we have 11 twice. Then we have a 12 and a 13, and finally we have an 18. So we've written out our data in numerical order. Now a lower quartile, let's call that LQ for short, is the n plus 1 over 4 value, where n is the number of data points that we have. So we have n is equal to 7 here. So our lower quartile is going to be 7 plus 1 over 4. 7 plus 1 is 8, over 4 is 2. So it's going to be the second value. Our second value is 10. So we can see our lower quartile is equal to 10. To calculate our upper quartile, call that UQ, we're looking for the n plus 1 over 4, but we actually want 3 of them because we want 3/4 of the value. So for our upper quartile, we've got 3 lots of 7 plus 1 over 4, which is 3 lots of 2. So we're looking for our 6th value. Now our 6th value is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is 13. So we can see our upper quartile is equal to 13. So we can see our interquartile range, IQR, is upper quartile minus lower quartile, which is 13, minus the lower quartile, which is 10. So the interquartile range is 3. So let's make note of that as well. IQR is equal to 3. We're now required to work out the standard deviation. Now standard deviation is a bit more of a involved calculation. You should recall that the standard deviation is the square root of the sum of x squared minus the sum of x all squared divided by n, all divided by n minus 1. So sum of x squared means square each value and add them together. Sum of x just means add up all your x values, and n is just your sample size. So let's write out our values again for reference. So we have 10, 12, 11 and 9. 10, 12, 11 and 9. 13, 11 and 18. 11 and 18. And what we need to do is work out the sum of x and the sum of x squared. So the sum of x just means 10 plus 12 plus 11 plus 9 plus 13 plus 11 plus 18, and we're going to use a calculator for that, just for ease. So we've got 10 plus 12 plus 11 plus 9 plus 13 plus 11 plus 18. So we see the sum of x is equal to 84. Now, the sum of x squared just tells us to square each of our values and then add them together. So we have 10 squared plus 12 squared plus 11 squared plus 9 squared plus 13 squared plus 11 squared plus 18 squared. And again, we're going to have to use our calculator for this. So AC clears the screen. So we have 10, and x with a little 2 means squared, so it's 10 squared plus 12 squared plus 11 squared plus 9 squared plus 13 squared plus 11 squared, and finally plus 18 squared. And press equals, and we see the sum of x squared is 1060. So we'll write that in. Sum of x squared is 1060. We're now in a position to find the standard deviation, because remember, n is a sample size and we know there are 7 terms in our sample. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the standard deviation is equal to the square root of the sum of x squared, so 1060, minus the sum of x all squared, so that's 84 squared, divided by n, so divided by 7, all divided by n minus 1, so 7 minus 1. Again, we're going to have to use our calculator. So clear the screen. You have to be careful with how you plug this in now. Got to do it in the right order. So we want the square root. We're going to put in a fraction. 1060 minus, now we've got another fraction, so we're going to press the fraction button again. We have 84 squared, press down and put in that 7, and then press down again and type in 7 minus 1, and then we're done. Hit equals, and we see we get the square root of 78/3. We don't normally write standard deviation in terms of square root, so we'll hit the SD button to turn it into a decimal. So we see to 2 decimal places 2.94. So the standard deviation is equal to 2.94. So we've calculated our range, which was 9, interquartile range, which was 3, and the standard deviation, which was 2.94.